CG-36-500 is a 36-foot, all-wood motor lifeboat. It was built in 1946 at Curtis Bay, Maryland Coast Guard Yard and served 22 years' service with the Chatham Coast Guard. On February 18, 1952, CG-36-500 was deployed by the Chatham Lifeboat Station in what would become known as the most amazing small boat rescue in history. The SS Pendleton, a 503-foot, 10,488 gross ton T2 tanker, had split in half about 50 miles off the coast of Chatham, Massachusetts. While the bow half of the Pendleton sank immediately, the stern half retained steerage and electricity, preserving the lives of 33 crewmen. When the Chatham Lifeboat Station spotted the stern half of the Pendleton on their radar, officer in charge, Bosun Clough, ordered the dispatch of the CG-36-500 in pursuit of the surviving Pendleton crew. BM-1 coxswain Bernard Weber captained the CG-36-500 with a volunteer crew of 3: engineman Andrew Fitzgerald, seaman Richard Livesey, and seaman Irving Mask. The mission seemed impossible. To reach the Pendleton, Weber and his crew would have to pilot CG-36-500 over the dangerous Chatham Bar in the midst of a full-scale nor'easter, complete with blinding snow and 60-foot seas. Assuming that they did not first wreck on the bar, the CG-36-500 crew would then have to motor through the storm, haplessly searching for the Pendleton. Then, if the Coast Guardsmen did find the Pendleton, they would have to safely board its crew of 33, despite the fact that the CG-36-500 only had room for 8 other passengers. Knowing full well the futility of the situation, Weber, Fitzgerald, Livesey, and Mask departed from Old Harbor, Chatham, in search of the Pendleton. Weber brought the CG-36-500 over the bar by throwing its engine into reverse every time a wave tossed the self-righting boat into the air. After hours of motoring through the Atlantic, Weber finally sensed something in the distance. He instructed a crewman to operate the boat's searchlight, which illuminated the stern half of the Pendleton, writhing in the sea. The CG-36-500 crew could barely make out a black mass of figures atop the starboard side of the Pendleton's stern. Suddenly, a Jacob's ladder descended from the Pendleton, and the vessel's crew began to clamber down it. Weber and his crew assisted the Pendleton men, lifting them out of the water or catching them as they were pitched off the ladder. The CG-36-500 returned with 32 of the 33 Pendleton crew. Overstuffed with human cargo, CG-36-500 labored its way back to Old Harbor. When Weber radioed the CLS to inform them of the rescue status, his report was met with awe and exhilaration. The day after the rescue, Rear Admiral H.G. Bradbury, commander of the 1st CG District, sent his congratulations to Weber, Fitzgerald, Livesey, and Mask. He informed the CG-36-500 Coast Guardsmen that the stern of the Pendleton had capsized just moments after they boarded its crew. The miraculous rescue couldn't have come a moment too soon. Weber and his crew were all awarded the Treasury Department's coveted Gold Life-Saving Medal for their actions during the Pendleton rescue. In 1968, the CG-36-500 was officially decommissioned. CG-36-500 was stored uncovered in Wellfleet for almost 15 years, where it fell into serious disrepair. It appeared that the Lower Cape's investment with CG-36-500 had ended. However, this was far from true. In 1981, the Orleans Historical Society acquired CG-36-500 and pushed for its preservation. A strong-willed coalition of volunteers rose to the challenge, and within 6 months, an initial restoration was complete. This first restoration involved extensive overhaul of the hull as well as rebuild of the CG-36-500's 44-foot twin-diesel engine. Later, in 1996, a second restoration was made by Pease Boatworks in Chatham. This restoration involved maintaining the structure of the hull from the keel up to the rails. Finally, in 2009, a complete restoration of the CG-36-500 was performed by Pleasant Bay Boat and Spar in Orleans. This last restoration served to rebuild and preserve the deck sides, turtlebacks, and cockpit soles of the vessel. Additionally, much of the CG-36-500's internal hardware was able to be salvaged and restored. Some may question the community's fervor for restoring CG-36-500. Why save a boat that has clearly outlived its usefulness? The CG-36-500 is an essential part of the Lower Cape community. It reminds us of the heroism of Weber, Fitzgerald, Livesey, and Mask, who, in the face of certain death, served the Coast Guard admirably. Today, CG-36-500 is one of only a handful of vessels to be listed on the Registrar of Historic Places. Indeed, it is as the Orleans Historical Society so rightly puts it, CG-36-500 is nothing short of a floating museum.